Hello and welcome. This is Errol Williams again for another Thursday night presentation. Today we are focusing on a 1 hour course. Can you believe that? A 1 hour course on the art of presentation and public speaking skills. So that is my focus for tonight, and I hope that you're ready to get going in the next 2 minutes. In 2 minutes time, we will get going with this amazing topic, the art of presentation and public speaking skills. So get ready as we are about to make a start in around 2 minutes time. I want to say thank you so much for joining me. I am so excited about tonight's topic. It's one that I've been teaching on for many years, approximately 30 years in fact. So if you want to text me tonight, you can go ahead and do so on 07956872141. You can also call the show live tonight on 0203-289-4567. You can also go ahead, if you don't mind, and share this wonderful subject tonight at these locations: Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, or Twitter. So we will get started in just a minute and a half or so with this wonderful subject. I got a few slides I want to share with you and go through with you. It's going to be fast, so if you want to come back and review the slides, you can actually do so, because that would be certainly useful for you to do so. If you do have any comments, go ahead and put those in the chat room. I will throw those up on the screen, and if they're relevant to the show, and then we will go from there. Okay, so in the next minute or so, we will get started with this amazing topic. This is Errol Williams for another Thursday night tip, and it's on the tip of public speaking and so on. So get ready, as we are about to get the show on the road. I am so excited. Just want to point out as well that we do run 2 shows every week. That is Monday night Bible studies, as well as Thursday night tips. So you can join me every Monday. We're here every Monday and every Thursday. Okay, that will be our ongoing shows for the next year or so, if you like. So get ready tonight for this amazing topic, as we're about to get started in the next few seconds. Just want to make sure that everyone is ready and ready to go, and just want to make sure that all is working well. All right, I want to say welcome to the wonderful June Mackenzie and others. And as I say, we are about to get started with this amazing 1 hour free course. That's all it is, 1 hour. And I will be going through some slides as I make this presentation to you. So if you have any comments for me on Facebook or YouTube, please go ahead and do so. All right, let's get going then. And I want to start off with talking a little bit about who I am, so you can actually know who I am. I'm Errol Williams, and I'm a founder of one of the largest community organizations in Europe that was launched by His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales. And we were so honored as well to have the Atumfu Ozitutu II, the king of the Ashanti tribe in Ghana currently, and he used to work with us and for us. I'm the author of 4 books. You can find out more about those 4 books at errolwilliams.org, and if you want to download a PDF copy, you can go ahead and visit that website. I have years of experience in a variety of different areas: leadership, management, training, dealing with prisoners, senior pastor and systematic theology teacher. I sit on the National Executive Board for the Church of God of Prophecy UK Trust, as well. I've trained hundreds and hundreds of people over the last 30 years or so. If you want to partner with me, you can do so. I'm looking to raise £1 million, looking for a millionaire, in fact, who would like to support the cause of what I'm doing, visiting training and supporting for prisoners, training and development for unemployed people, training for young people between the ages of 18 and 21, and also webinar software and equipment so I can keep this show going, because it does cost a lot of money to actually do so. So if you want to go ahead and support, then the links are there and you can support in whichever way you choose. All right. I want to start then with 13 points I want to share with you, really. And the first one is about planning and preparation. And as you can see on the screen, it says planning and preparation prevent poor performance. And that is so true. So true. So in terms of presenting, you got to really make sure that you're focusing on planning and preparation. And you may have heard many statements about that before. Now, what's interesting for me personally is that I spend approximately, and I would say that's approximate figure, it's certainly not less, I spend on average around, believe it or not, 20 hours preparing to give a 1 hour presentation. So could you imagine the amount of hours that I've spent in preparing this presentation? And first point I really want you to bear in mind when doing presentation is preparation. Because if you do not prepare, then you're going to find yourself in a great disadvantage, all right? So planning and preparation is the key to a successful presentation. Failing to plan is planning to fail. So if you do not prepare yourself properly, you will not eliminate a lot of that fear and nervousness and uncertainty that you may experience when giving a presentation. So it's very important that you spend a lot of time. Remember what I said, I spend up to around 20 hours just to give a 1 hour presentation. That is incredible. In fact, and you know, and in a lot of other cases, I've put in far more time than that. 20 hours is just the minimum if you want to really be effective in your presentation skills. So always remember, planning and preparation is the key to a successful presentation. Now, here is something that I think is very useful for you to make note of. If you want to plan and prepare effectively, it will save you a lot of stress, time, energy, and money. And you may want to ask yourself, why must it be done? What must be done? Where will it be done? When must it be done by? Who will do what? And so on. How will it be done? Look at your resources, the risks, reviewing of that presentation, and also rewarding anyone that you may need to reward. Let me put it another way. You got to ask yourself these questions. Why am I giving this presentation? What is the purpose of it? What's the objective? What things need to be done? As I said before, where will you be presenting it? Who is your audience? And that's very important. And I'll come back to that later. How will you present it? What will be the method or the style that you will use? Make sure you have your facts, especially when you're doing presentation. Make absolutely certain that you have all your facts. Prepare your notes as well, because you're going to need those, just in case you get a mental block. And I always say to people, always memorize your introduction. Always memorize your introduction and rehearse. That's all part and parcel of the planning and the preparation stage. Remember what I said before, preparation. I want to also say rehearse. Anticipate things that could possibly go wrong and make sure you plan for it, all right? Anticipate all the possible things that could potentially go wrong and make sure that you prepare for it and you plan for it. So my first of the 13 is preparation. Make sure you rehearse. The more you are prepared, the better you will be. That's my very first point in reference to the art of presentation and public speaking. Let me move on to my second point, which is to do with resources. Every presentation uses resources of one kind or another. The first resource will be you. You are a resource. You as a person, your personal appearance, and I'll come back to that later. The room layout. whether you're going to be doing it in this small room or large room, what will be the room layout? That's a part of your resources. Visual aids, for example, laptops, flip charts, video, whiteboards, etc. All of that is part and parcel of your resource that you will use. PowerPoint. Okay, PowerPoint. I'm using a PowerPoint slide right now to go through. Always have testimonies or stories. One of the greatest way of communicating to your audience is to tell stories, and that's a part of your resource. Handouts, evaluation forms, refreshments, props that you may possibly use, and what would all the costs be. And so it's very important that you bear in mind all the necessary resources that you will use to give that presentation. But bear in mind, you must use your resources to aid your presentation and not to replace it. Does that make sense? The presentation that you're giving is the most important thing. So all you're doing is using the resources to support you in giving and delivering that killer presentation. Learn about the resources that you're using in case something goes wrong. There's a saying that says, if anything can go wrong, it certainly will go wrong. So don't use resources that you don't understand clearly, or make sure that there are people around that you can turn to. So right now I'm using a microphone, I'm using lights, I'm using my software, different software, I'm using my phone, I'm using different computers. I have a good understanding of these things. Just in case something goes wrong, I will know what to do if that did happen. So beware of that. Make sure that you have a good understanding of the resources that you'll be using to give that presentation. And that's point number 2. Let me move on then to point number 3. And can I say welcome. Hello, Sister Jackie and everyone who's online. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Point number 3 is really, really important when giving presentation. You need to know the enemy. That is so important to know. One of the biggest enemy of presentation skills and public speaking is nervousness and fear. That's one of the biggest things. Unclear objectives, lack of planning and preparation. Remember I said that before in my point number 1. Poor structure and delivery. I'll make a point on that later. Insufficient information, not having enough information. Mental block. And one of the points I made earlier, a way of overcoming mental blocks is to make sure you have your notes. I said that in the preparation stage. Poor communication is also a big enemy of presentation. You're not communicating clearly enough. Negative body language and tone of voice. Your voice is not really, powerful enough for your audience. Lack of resources, okay, and difficult people. Yes, difficult people. Got to get that on the list, right? So one of the biggest problem that you will encounter in presentation is nervousness and fear, and this list that I have on the board. These are the top 10, I would say, of the things that will cause your presentation to really be ineffective. All right. Always remember that what do these 10 enemies have in common? Really you. All right. Really, it's really about you. So your biggest enemy could be nervousness and fear is about you. Unclear objective is about you. Lack of planning and preparation is about you. Poor structure and delivery is about you. Insufficient information is you. Mental block is you. Poor communication is you. Negative body language and tone of voice is you. Lack of resources is you. And difficult people is certainly you. In other words, how do you cope with and deal with so-called difficult people? All right? And you've got to have the skill and the ability to turn difficult people into positive people. So all of these things have one thing in common, and that is certainly you. The biggest enemy of presentation and public speaking, I believe, is you. I am my problem, but I'm also glad to know I am also my solution. So bear that in mind in every presentation you give, that you could be your worst enemy in terms of your lack of preparation and fear and all of that, mental block and so on, as I mentioned before. Now, one of the biggest enemies of presentation I mentioned before is nervousness and fear. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Another way to put it, fear has 2 meanings. forget everything and run. That's really what most people do. Or face everything and rise. And I like that. Face your fears and do them anyway. So face everything and rise. So the more prepared you are, the better you will be at giving that killer presentation. Make sure you understand your resources and make sure you overcome your biggest problem, which will be you. We say nervousness and fear, but really it will be you. So I want to make it quite clear again that in every presentation, there is always the enemy that we must overcome, and we can do so with excellence. Let me move on to my next point, and that's what I call structure and delivery. All right, that is so key. Show them the complete picture of what it is that you're really talking about, and every structure and every delivery in every presentation should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And we always say, tell them what you're going to tell them, the objectives, the outline, the agenda, and questions, and so on, like I did at the beginning. Then tell them during the main content and the question, and then at the end, tell them what you told them, summary, review, and question. So always remember that every key presentation in public speaking should have three things: the beginning, the introduction, the middle, the main content, the end, the close. Always bear that in mind. All right. At the beginning, I call it the 10-80-10. Don't forget this, 10-80-10. Don't you ever forget what I'm about to share with you. You should spend 10% of that presentation on the beginning. In other words, get their interest. Why do they need to be there? How long will it take? How will they be able to respond with any questions or any comments? And what are the objectives? And so you want to spend 10% of your time, or that presentation time, on the beginning, the intro. Does that make sense? We're talking about structure and delivery here. And if you really structure it right and you really follow these tips I'm sharing with you, I'm telling you, your presentation will improve 100% in just 1 hour. Believe me when I tell you that. So you want to make absolutely certain that you spend 10% on the introduction. I call it INTRO. During the beginning, you want to arouse their interest. Find out what needs they have. How long will this presentation last? When can students respond, or the delegates? Agree the objective. The intro always allows you to set the scene properly. You see, at the intro stage, what you're doing is setting the scene. Always remember this. People's favorite radio station is WIIFM. Yes. What's in it for me? Everyone listening to you, even right now, are asking themselves the question, what's in it for me? What can I gain out of this? So at the beginning, you want to make absolutely certain you spend 10% of your time on the intro. In the middle now, you want to spend, that's where you spend the 80% of your time. In the middle, you want to tell them the position, the problem, the possibilities, and the proposal. Highlight the overall position. Explain the current problem and its future effects. Show the many possibilities, and finally, make your specific proposal. I got these 4 points from John Cleese in some training videos that he ran for a company called Video Arts many years ago. And these 4 Ps have been classic, not just for me, but for many, many top leaders and top presenters around the world. Use these 4 Ps. Tell them what is the position that we are in right now. What's the position? What's the problem? What's the possibilities? And then give them the proposal. So you want to spend 80% of the presentation on the middle stage of that. And now at the end, you want to close. You come to the end of it. That's why I call it the 10-80-10. So you want to say, well, come to the conclusion. In conclusion, link any key things that needs to be linked. Go back over the objective. Have we achieved the objective? Give your summary, and then any question and answers. The ending is as important as the beginning or the middle. Therefore, plan your close effectively. Now, I've been told this, that the hardest part of flying any aircraft is the beginning and the end, the takeoff and the landing. I hear that most crashes take place at the takeoff and the landing. So it's classically important, therefore, that your beginning and your close is as important and as effective as the middle. And that, my brothers and sisters, is very, very important that you bear that in mind, because that is absolutely key. So let's put these three together. You've got what I call the 10-80-10 structure and delivery: the beginning, the middle, and the end. So you start off with 10% on the beginning. That is to get their interest, the need, the timing, how they will respond, and the objective. Then you want to give them your 4 Ps, or the middle, whichever way you structure it. And then finally, 10%, the close, linking any key things that you need to link, check the objective if they've been achieved, give you a summary, and are there any questions and answers. And that will give you a wonderful, wonderful victory in structuring and delivering any presentation, no matter how long that presentation would be. Let me move on then to another stage that I find really, really powerful and really important, is evaluation, a review of your presentation with the intention of making changes if necessary. And so you always want to make sure that you are reviewing and evaluating your presentation. A question I'd ask is, when should you evaluate your presentation? When should that be done? That's a very, very important point. A review of your presentation with the intention of making changes if necessary. Always, always tell yourself this: I love feedback. I love feedback. Love and appreciate feedback. There are lots of people who don't appreciate feedback. They love the good feedback, but they don't really appreciate the other feedback that will improve them. So it's important, therefore, from the question I asked, when should you evaluate your presentation? 3 stages: before the event, during the event, and after the event. Even right now, I have to be asking myself the question, am I really delivering this properly? And I've got to ask myself many questions. Everything going to plan? Are the equipments really working, etc., etc.? So evaluate before, during, and after your presentation. Don't just wait until the presentation is finished. Make sure you evaluate it before you do it. Make sure you evaluate the presentation whilst you're doing it, and most certainly evaluate it at the end. That is absolutely key that you do so. And these are some of the questions you may want to ask yourself during the evaluation stage. How appropriate was the planning and preparation? How effective was my presentation? Have I achieved the objectives? What were my strengths and weaknesses? How was my attitude, my skills, and my knowledge? And finally, what have I learned from this presentation? Because always remember, the largest room in the world is the room for improvement. And so the more you evaluate and get other people's views of your presentation, the more you're in a better position to improve and to do better the next time, all the time. So that's very, very important that you bear that in mind. All right, let me just check to see if there are any questions or any comments that I need to address, and then we'll go from there. And hope everyone is okay and everyone's doing well. Thank you all so much for coming on stream tonight. Really do appreciate all of you. June, thank you all so much for being here. If you have any question, go ahead and put those in the chat room. I will only be too glad to respond to any comments that you may have. Thank you so much. All right, let's move on then. So we have looked at a few stages so far, and we're doing well so far. So I want to move on now to another heading. We've looked at evaluation. I want to look at what I call nonverbal communication, which is really body language, communication without words. And this is so vital when you're doing presentation. There are 3 elements of communication. There's words, there's tone of voice, and there's body language. Research shows that most of the communication from our body without words come through our body language. 55%, 38% of tones, and only 7% of words. Therefore, 93% of communication is nonverbal. So whenever you're giving a presentation, what the people are understanding is 7% from your words and 93% from your body language. They want to see, is he or she passionate about what they're doing, the tone of voice, the dress they wear, the suit they wear, or whatever, the style and so on. People are watching you, and all of that is giving information. They call it body talk. So bear in mind all these factors. So let's take a little look now at some of your body languages. There are 6 areas that is worth looking at. You may want to ask yourself the question, what's my mouth doing? Am I smiling? Or am I frowning? Or am I pushing my mouth out? How is my appearance? Because always remember this, people always judge us by our appearance. My gesture, the movements of my hands, and so on. Are my hands supporting what I'm saying? My posture, the way I stand, the way I sit, the way I lean forward or lean backwards. My voice. Is my voice giving the impression that I'm very nervous? Am I monotone, speaking at the same tone all the time? Or am I pitching my voice and varying my voice and making it more exciting and interesting for the people that are listening? What's my eyes doing? Am I maintaining eye contact with the people? Or am I watching the ceiling or looking to the floor or the side? What am I doing? Or am I staring at people? So it's very, very important when we look at our body language that we look at these 6 key areas and so on. These are some very interesting body language. And if you look at these body language, I'm sure you'll be able to say, well, right, I understand what these body languages are saying. Could you imagine you're doing a presentation, right, to say around 5 people, and all 5 of them were behaving in this manner. This is the body language that they were displaying. I'm sure you would get a clue as to what's going on here. So therefore, smile and show great interest in what you're presenting. Dress appropriately. It doesn't have to be a suit and tie, but it's what's appropriate for that presentation. Let your hands support what you're saying. Be assertive and positive, and most certainly be passionate about what it is that you're presenting. Use tone that matches what your message is, okay, and maintain eye contact. Always remember this, and this is so powerful, I believe. Action speaks louder than your words. Someone once said, what you do speaks so loud, I can't hear what you're saying. And so when you're presenting, always remember, I gave you this statistic, and I think this statistic is so powerful. 93% of your communication is done non-verbally through your body language and also through your tone of voice. And that's very, very, very important. Let's deal with another very, very important aspect of giving good presentation, and it's to do with question and answers. I call it TRACT, T-R-A-C-T. In every presentation, generally speaking, the majority of them, you may have to answer some questions. So how do you do that? And I have a very simple tactic that I use, and I call it TRACT. So when someone asks a question, you don't have to do this all the time, but it's in your knowledge bank, and you can use this. You thank the person for the question that they've asked. You rephrase the question to make sure that you understand the question. Then you answer the question. And then you check that they got the understanding. Not necessarily that you're checking that they agree with you. You're checking that they understand. And then you thank the person again for asking the question. So you might go something like this. Thanks, Paul, for asking that exciting question. If I understand you correctly, what you're saying is, okay, now that I understand that, the answer to that question is, did you understand, Paul? Okay, thanks again, Paul, for asking that question. Now, you don't have to do that all the time, but at least you can be varying it. You might another occasion might say, well, thanks, Paul, for that great question, interesting question. You answer the question. After answering the question, you might check with Paul again. Was that okay, Paul? Okay, thank you. Let's move on. And so here is a classic, beautiful way of dealing with question and answers. I've been using it for years, and it's worked truly wonders. And I've seen other top presenters use this. Always enjoy the questions and answer session. This is a very important point. I love the Q&A section in any presentations that I give. Listen to the entire question. Sometimes I find some speakers, they're so eager to answer the question that they don't allow the questioner to finish what they're saying. And it's important that you allow the person to express themselves properly. Treat everyone the same way. Don't have a special way of treating those in front and a different way of treating those at the back, or a special way of treating this person because this person is a dignitary, to the way you treat another person who is not as a dignitary as this one. Does that make sense? So treat everyone the same. So if you've got a dignitary and let's say a homeless person in your room, treat the homeless person like you would the dignitary. Does that make sense? Treat everyone the same. I think that works wonders when you do that. It makes people feel really, really important. Okay, so make sure you're actually answering people's question in a way that will be of great assistance and help to them. And as I've said before, thank them, rephrase the question, or repeat it back in your own words, answer the question, check that you understand what they're saying, and then thank the person for asking the question. That's a beautiful way, I think, of dealing with any question and answer session that you are ever involved in. Don't forget, if you have any questions or any comment, please go ahead and put those in the chat room, and I'll be more than happy to address any of those points that you may have. Right, another section that I'd like to talk about is what I call assertiveness. Assertiveness is not very difficult to understand. It's about being direct, open, and honest, really. It's develop and maintain a non-verbal assertive behavior. Remember I spoke to you about these things before, that you dress assertively, you speak assertively. Does that make sense? Are you with me? And you make sure your voice is an assertive voice. And that's where the rehearsal comes in. Always remember this, the mind does not know the difference between reality and fiction. So every time you rehearse your presentation, your mind thinks that you're giving it for real. So you've actually done it before. And that's why it's important to rehearse, rehearse, and rehearse. Think positively at all times, not just during your presentation, but even when you're not giving your presentation, you're thinking positively, because by doing so, you are preparing for your next presentation. Are you with me? By thinking positively, by acting assertively in different situations and circumstances, you are rehearsing, in fact, for your next presentation. Be calm and confident. Be calm and confident. Do not attack or manipulate any of the people in the audience. Never, ever, 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 I'm going to say this again, never, ever attack anyone or manipulate anyone in your audience. Never, ever do it. Never get into an argument with the customer, because the customer is always right, is a saying. The customer is always right. So you never argue with the customer. You never argue with them. You just deal with what you have to deal with as professionally as possible. Think highly of and respect the dignity of everyone that's before you. Think highly of them. I mentioned this before. Think highly of them and respect their dignity as well. Be yourself and be natural. This is really, really, really important. Be yourself, but at the same time, be natural. Now, when we talk about assertiveness, there are 4 life positions I just want to take you through for a moment. You're going to ask yourself, am I passive? Well, if you're passive, you're not assertive. Am I aggressive? Well, if you're aggressive, you're not assertive. Am I a paralysis? Ooh.
And if you're paralysis, then you're not assertive. Am I assertive? This is by Eric Byrne. So let's just have a look at this for a moment. Let's look at the first one, the passive one. They use a common phrase like, you're okay, but I'm not okay. They put themselves down. They believe that others are better than themselves. They never get straight to the point. They are very shy, easy to give up, and they're always surrendering. They spend time feeling inadequate and being depressed. They're the perfect target for the aggressive person. And let me just move my head out of the way. Oftentimes, they find themselves saying, I'm sorry, please help me. So that's the assertive person. Are you like that? That's the passive person. Are you like the passive person? Well, let's look at another one. The aggressive person, their common phrase is, well, I'm okay, you're not okay. They believe they're better than everybody else. They're autocratic and very bossy. Find it hard to trust and listen to others. They always spend time telling off others and finding fault. They're often very frustrated and unhappy. They have only a few friends. And they do not know how to cope with an assertive person. That is really, really powerful. I think they have no idea how to do that. Now, the paralysis person, their common phrase is, I'm not okay, and neither are you okay. Nobody's okay. They do not believe in themselves or in other people. They often feel very suicidal, sadly to say. And sadly to say, this is the worst life position of the four. Okay? They spend time complaining, withdrawn, depressed, and feeling a sense of total helplessness. They do nothing constructive with their time and with their life, and they believe the world is going to end soon, so why bother? The final life position that I want to talk about is the assertive life position, which says, I'm okay, you're okay. Eric Byrne says it good. I'm okay, you're okay. They love people. So if you want to be assertive, love people. Be friendly, honest, and peaceable. They find it easy to trust and get on with other people. They spend time enjoying their life, their work, their friends, their family. They're often very happy, pleasant, and fun to be with, assertive people. They have lots of friends and are very understanding. And generally speaking, they are the life of the party. So bear in mind that when you're presenting, you do not want to be passive, whereas you're saying, well, I'm not okay, you're okay. You don't want to be aggressive, whereas I'm okay, you're not okay. You don't want to be paralysis. I'm not okay, you're not okay. You want to be assertive. I'm okay, you're okay. And that's the life position that you want to be in, my friends, is that of the assertive person, that you love people, you love what you do, you're friendly, you're peaceful, you're honest. You find it easy to trust people and to get on with people. You spend time enjoying your life, your work, your friends, and your family. Very happy and pleasant and fun to be with. People want to spend time with you. Have lots of friends and are very understanding. You're the life of the party. And so when you give your presentation, you want to be assertive. Remember, as I said before, there are really only 4 life positions. I totally agree with Eric Byrne. In the last 35 years, I've discovered that this, let's call it theory, is absolutely correct. Now let me ask you a question. Where do you live in these 4? Where do you spend most of your time? I asked that question once in a training course I did, and someone says to me, Errol, I live at Passive Street, but from time to time I go visiting Paralysis Street. And I want to say this to you, my friends, tonight. Go on YouTube and find some videos about assertiveness. In fact, I believe next week, Thursday, my next topic, 1-hour course, will be on assertiveness. So you may want to come back to the session next week and find out more about that if you're able to. All right, let me move on to another tip within the art of presentation and public speaking, is various techniques that you can use to make your presentation really exciting. Remember, I talked about before your structure and delivery. So you want to structure your presentation with a beginning, a middle, and an end. That's a technique, all right? Use visual aids, videos, pictures, charts, and graphs. You know, PowerPoints, I mentioned that before. in terms of resources. Sometimes one of my best technique in any course I run is role plays and group work. Encourage people to ask questions. That really can help to relax you a great deal by allowing people to be able to, ask questions and to discuss the points that you are actually looking at. Tell stories. One of the best way to give presentation is to give stories. I did a 3-day course on I forget the name of the program. If I remember, I'll let you know in a moment. I did a 3-day course on advanced neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. I did 3 days. In those 3 days, I told over 30 stories. 30 stories. And it was the best response and review that I've ever had in any course I've ever done. Truly was inspiring for me. Keep your presentation short and sweet. There's a principle called the KISS, K-I-S-S, keep it short and sweet. Be energetic and exciting. Be yourself and respect everyone. These are all techniques, by the way. And there may be many other techniques that you can adopt in your presentation to make it the best presentation you can possibly give. As I said, there are many other techniques out there. These are just some that I have used over the years. They have worked wonders for me. Role plays or group work has worked wonders for me. Telling stories, handouts. I've used all of these. And I want to say this to you, okay? Maybe one of the best technique on this board is to make sure you respect everybody. It doesn't really matter what they say or do. Respect them. I've had people say some amazing things in my session, and I just treated them with utmost respect. And sometimes the people you treat with utmost respect who were, let's say, difficult, they're the ones who sometimes give you the best feedbacks. And that can be so, so true. Let me move on to another area that I think is so important, is what I call interpersonal skills that I use to interact with other people. So here are some of the interpersonal skills that I use to interact with others during a presentation. You got to listen to them. So learn how to listen. Okay. Verbal communication. All right. Which is you're talking. Non-verbal communication. Problem solving and decision making. Being assertive, as I mentioned before. Negotiating, questioning. Social awareness. Team player. And self-management. Managing of yourself. So these are some of the interpersonal skills that is worth mastering in order to master your presentation. And these are courses that I will be running in the next few weeks. So if you stick around, you will most certainly have access to some of these courses that I'll be running for 1 hour. So bear in mind, interpersonal skills, the word inter means between. The skills that we use to communicate with our audience, whether it be audience be a one-to-one or one-to-many. It really doesn't matter. We need to develop our interpersonal skills. And I said before, they are used to interact with other people. So make sure you make a note of these skills and develop them, master them, because it's going to help you to master your presentation skills. Presentation skills is not done overnight. It's a process of development all the way. Another area that we need to focus on and bear in mind is our objective. Our presentation should always have objective. Setting objective is key to a successful presentation, and make sure you stick to the objective throughout your presentation. Always make sure. Now, clearly define your objective by asking yourself these 3 questions. Who's the presentation for? Okay, what action do I want them to take? Why will they take this action? And that would be the benefits. Always, always make sure you ask yourself these 3 questions. Who's the presentation for? What action do I want them to take? And what are the benefits? Always sell benefits. Very, very important that you bear that in mind. Who is this presentation for? Is what I said before. Will they understand and be convinced by the message? So you want to make absolutely certain you start with the why, the what, the who. Make sure you're asking yourself these questions at the beginning and make sure you address these points. I want you to understand also is that when you give a presentation, there are only 4 kinds of presentation that you can really give, and I call it PIDE. It's either you're giving a presentation to persuade people, or you're giving a presentation to inform or to explain something, or you're giving a presentation to entertain, or you're giving a presentation for discussionary purposes. Generally speaking, it's going to fall into one of these 4 categories. So I'm not making a presentation tonight for entertainment purposes. It could be for us to discuss, and it could also be that I'm trying to persuade you or also to inform you. So it could fall into the PID. But I'm certainly not here to entertain you, even though your presentation should be entertaining to some degree. So bear that in mind, that a presentation that you're given will fall into one of those categories. Without a clear call to action, your presentation will be a waste of time, waste of money, and most certainly a waste of energy. So you want to make sure that you ask those 3 questions that I made mention of before. Why am I making this presentation? What are the benefits, the advantages, or the result? I always say to people, take them to the bar, not to drink alcohol, but the bar being benefits, advantages, and result. Always remember your audience favorite radio station is WIIFM. What's in it for me? Why should I listen to you? What's in it for me? And so it's very, very important that when you are given that presentation, the objective of your presentation is very, very clear. Remember what I said. Who is this presentation for? What action do I want them to take? And what benefits will they get from this? Because their favorite radio station is always on the line. What's in it for me? What are the benefits, advantages, and results from me taking the time to be at this presentation? So bear that in mind. All right, another area that I want to look at is what I call the needs of your audience. The more your audience is involved with your presentation, the more successful your presentation will be. Ask yourself throughout the presentation, do they understand? Are they inspired? And are they engaged? In other words, if they're not understanding, they're not inspired, and they're not engaged, then your presentation is DIE, dead or died or dying. So make sure that they understand, and there are ways in how you can go about doing that. Make sure they're inspired, and make absolutely certain also that they are engaged in your presentation as far as possible. I hope that makes absolute good sense. As I said before, I hope it makes sense. All right. Let me just say good evening to Sister Pat. Welcome. Glad to have you tonight. So glad that you're here. And hope that everyone is okay as well. Thank you all for tuning in to the webinar tonight. Good evening, Michael. How you doing? Hope all is well. Hope you had a great Bible studies. Welcome to everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. This is really, I'm telling you, this is information that has really helped me to, excel in many, many different ways, and I'm so grateful that I came across this knowledge before. And I just want to say to you, be careful. Do not. Here are 10 tips that will frustrate any audience. I really want to share that with you. I'm going to go through it very quick. You can always go back over this presentation, but I want to share with you, If you want to frustrate your audience, here are 10 tips that will frustrate any audience. Do not speak well of yourself. Put yourself down. Number 2, tell them that you're unprepared, that you didn't have time. You just got off the plane and you didn't have time to prepare for them. Step number 3, never smile or do eye contact. Never smile or do eye contact. Speak only in monotone, just monotone. Don't raise your voice. Don't, just monotone. Number 5, insult, ignore, and undermine your audience. If you really want to frustrate them, that's number 5. Number 6, never answer questions. If you do, be long-winded. Number 7, avoid the use of visual aids. Just get up and talk. This is what we do oftentimes in church, isn't it? We just get up and deliver like that. Turn up late and finish late. Okay? Turn up late and finish late. If you want to frustrate your audience, do not use a structure. Be all over the place. Don't follow any clear structure at all. And number 10, never thank or appreciate your audience. Don't thank them or appreciate your audience. That's the way, if you want to frustrate your audience, that's what you do. All right, let's move on. We got 2 more areas to cover. And the needs of your audience then. Let's look at that. We've looked at 10 ways how to frustrate them. Let's look at how we can excite them. Let your audience participate in your presentation. Listen to your audience and communicate effectively. Be sensitive to the needs of your audience. Always be sensitive to their needs. Be empathic. Putting yourself in the audience's shoes. Empathy. Move around. Okay, don't just stay fixated in one place. Move around a little. Don't move around too much, but move around a little. Speak with enthusiasm and passion. You see, if people see how excited you are, they will give you more attention and more focus. So be passionate and enthusiastic about the thing that you're presenting. Use your audience's name. That's so important that you use your audience's name. So you need to understand. Now, you may not know everyone's name because it might be a large audience, but if it's possible to use their name, then do that. Create a non-threatening environment where people can actually share, and encourage everyone to interact. Encourage your learner to interact. Okay, learner interaction. And as I said before, keep it short and simple, or keep it short and sweet. Very important. Your audience have needs. And this is so important. One of the biggest thing I say to people is that your audience is more important than the presenter. People always argue with me about that. But if it wasn't for the audience, you wouldn't be given the presentation. So therefore, the audience is very, very important, and we shouldn't frustrate the audience. Finally then, the final point of the 13 is what I call style. All right, you are unique because there is not another you anywhere on earth. Therefore, do not imitate other people's style. You can copy them and learn from them and use certain things that would help to improve your style. Develop your own style. Be yourself. If you imitate others, who will be you? I think that's a very powerful statement. I remember when I first heard that, I was so excited that if I imitated T.D. Jakes, or if I imitated Martin Luther King Jr., or if I imitate Malcolm X, or if I imitate the other person, then who's going to be Errol Williams? Are you following me? So I want to be the best me when I present, whether I'm presenting online or whether I'm presenting one-to-one or whether I'm presenting in the church or wherever I present in the companies. So it's very important then to bear that in mind. I want to also leave with you in just around 3 minutes or so some master tips that I've come across over the years. And I want to share with you 20 master tips in less than 5 minutes. Know your strength and your weaknesses, okay? So you can do more of your strength and develop your weaknesses. Picture yourself enjoying the success of your presentation. Always when you're rehearsing, picture yourself giving that killer presentation Maintain eye contact, as I said before, and address your audience as individuals rather than as a group of people. They're all individuals. Whether it's a 10,000 people in the audience, they're all individual. In your conclusion, highlight key points that you want your audience to remember. What is said last is always remembered first. Remember that. Put your presentation on paper. It helps to clarify your thinking. I've got my presentation on paper in the sense of a PowerPoint. So it's right there before me. I've been through 69 slides so far. I've got 72 to share with you. You learn to make presentation by making presentation, just as you learn to play the flute by playing this flute, just like you learn to swim by getting in the water. So the only way to develop your presentation skills is to make more presentation. If opportunity, positive action, excitement, and enthusiasm is not in your presentation, don't go ahead. All right? Make sure that there's opportunity, there's positive action, there's excitement and enthusiasm before you go ahead with your presentation. Know your facts and have your notes. Know your facts and have your note. Number 10, use short words, short sentences, and avoid jargon. Make sure you speak the language of the people that you're communicating to. Never go over your time. Remove objects that rattle. If you've got money in your pocket or keys, remove them. All right. Always check your appearance before you start. I always go into the bathroom, and check my appearance and before I start. Always have an handkerchief or a glass of water. I've got my handkerchief beside me, and I have my water right here. Okay. So, and my hanky right here, and so on. So always have these things at hand. Check and secure all visual aids and supporting equipment. So make sure before you start, you check everything. Always check. Those who fail to plan to fail. Remember I said before, preparation, rehearsal. Very, very important. Always review at the end of your presentation. As I always said as well, always review beginning, middle, and end. But make sure at the end you do you do your review or your evaluation. Tell yourself that you are the best and you love presenting. This is something I tell to people who don't like presenting. Just say to yourself every day, I love presenting and I'm the best. You don't have to tell nobody, just you talking to yourself. It's called self-affirmation. Smile where necessary and always help other people in giving your presentation. Now, these are the 13 areas that I went through in the 72 slides I've shown. I talked about planning and preparation. Preparation. Rehearsal. All right? The more you plan, the better you will be. Resources that you will need. Make sure you understand the resources. Don't use the resources to replace your presentation, but use the resources to boost and to make your presentation more effective. Remember, the biggest enemy of presentation is you. Okay, I list 10 areas and they all relate to you or to me. So the biggest enemy that we need to overcome is us, our nervousness, our fear, our lack of planning, and so on and so forth. Structure your deliverance. Structure it, beginning, middle, end. I call it the 10-80-10. 10% with the introduction, 80% in the middle, and 10% at the end. You want to evaluate the beginning, the middle, and the end, before, during, and after. Remember the nonverbal communication. 7% of words, 38% tone of voice, 58% body language. 93% of your communication is done non-verbally. Remember, track. Thank your audience for asking the question. Rephrase the question in your own words. Answer it, then check, then thank the person again for asking that question. Be assertive. I gave you 4 life positions. Papa, the passive, the aggressive, the paralysis, but you want to be assertive. I'm okay, you're okay. Speak assertively, look assertively, dress assertively. Techniques, there are so many different techniques that you can use to give your presentation, like PowerPoints, like storytelling, so many different, using people's names. These are all techniques that you can use to make your presentation as effective as possible. Interpersonal skills are those skills that you will need to interact with other people. You need to learn them. Make sure your presentation have an objective, right? Or objectives. Asking those 3 questions. Who am I giving this presentation to? What do I want them to know? And what will be the benefits of them being there? Always remember the needs of your audience. You can frustrate your audience by things you do, or you can make your audience very, very excited. They're engaged, they're inspired, they're determined to actually listen to you. Always remember, you want to develop your own style. Learn from other people and use some of their things to improve you, because if you imitate somebody else, then who is going to be you? Who is going to be you? So be yourself in every situation. And finally, this course, and I say to people, can be run in varying different places. I say to people, if they want this course run in their company or in their organization, and many others that I run, then they can contact me and the information there. I think I've reached up to 8 o'clock, and if there are any questions or any comments for me, then I'll be more than happy to address any of those comments or questions that anybody have. So go ahead and put that in the chat room if you can. I want to say again, a big thank you to good evening to you, Sister Pat and Lucas. Thank you guys so much for being here. And for anybody else, please go ahead if you have any questions or any comments. If not, then I will close out here and say thank you guys for coming. It really was a joy and a pleasure to share this with you. If you want my notes or my PowerPoint slides, then just send me an email and I'll shoot those off to you free of charge, and you can use them as you so please. So again, I want to say a big thank you to everyone for being here on our Thursday night tips. And I'm always excited to do these webinars. It gives me so much joy to do them. So something that I'm passionate about, something that I'm excited about. The video will be up at the website, at the on Facebook as well as YouTube, so you can always go back over the points which I have made. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm going to close out, and thank you all very, very much for tuning in tonight. It's been a joy and a pleasure sharing this with you. I will be back here on Monday. I've got a really interesting topic on Monday. I will send that out for the Bible studies. And it asks the question, really, if God is all loving and God is all powerful and God is all knowing, then how could evil and sickness exist? And this is one of the biggest questions in theology. So we want to look at that next week, Monday. If God is all loving and He's all powerful and He's all knowing, how could evil exist? This is a question that atheists and agnostics are stuck on, and many of us do not have an answer for. And I'd like to discuss that with you on Monday. So if you're on Monday, join me. And next week, Thursday, my topic for our Thursday night tip will be around assertiveness. How can I become more assertive? Well, take care of yourself and your family. Until next time, bye for now.